Guys and dolls, no mic in, but it's only going to be a couple of minutes because I need to push this video out a wee bit because just as I was editing it, I was thinking Russell Brand was talking about some heavy duty stuff there at the start of the video, and it's like, yeah, you got to be careful. You want to be talking about like art and crafts, because it's like AI, guys. It's AI, and they're always looking for words, like pugs, fluffy dogs, and yeah, like in pet stores and stuff like that. So they're the kind of keywords that sort of let the video so you get recommended for it if you've subscribed to me. Like they're never going to push my video out to any new subscribers. But what happens is they don't push it out to people that are subscribed. And this is just a wee anti-note or whatever it's called, that's I think that's the right word. But at the start of the video, I seen one of the boys, I think it was Gobster, put a video of something about losing subs, you know what I mean? And I, I wouldn't take like I think they take subs off you. I think if people don't interact at all with you, and they probably take subs off you. I do believe that it goes up and down all the time. Um, I don't really notice mine. Mine seems to just go up and stop and go up and stop. I notice, you know what I mean? Um, but I'm happy enough for mine. If you're wanting to grow, there is like little things that you need to do to actually get your video put recommended to other people that aren't subscribers. That's hard to do that as a YouTuber these days. That is difficult, but holding on to your subscribers isn't that hard. I don't think. I just think you got to be careful with keywords and try and use your head a bit. You don't copy my videos, that's for sure. The way I come across and the way I speak, it would never is never going to let YouTube let me go out to anybody else. But I'll make it even worse for myself sometimes just by swearing and stuff and by using keywords that you're going to find in this video here. And it has before the video starts, it is I've got to be careful with my words, so I'm going to say it's for entertainment and educational purposes only. And it is my opinions. It's the opinions of a guy who's been through Cur, lost his mum when he was 8, been through Cur, ended up going from Cur straight into prison, and not really starting to socialise till I was about 25, 26. And by then I'd already made a network of really good friends that were really, really bad. And it just spiraled out of control, But yeah, that's all it is. And, in prison, I spent a lot of time in solitary confinement in every prison. And it's not like I can BS about anything like this. You know what I mean? The government wouldn't be too long in calling me out. So yeah, more or less every single prison, um, and yeah, for over a couple of months in shots and few about a month in a jail in Portland when I think it was 19. And then there was cellular confinement when I was 16 in and out of that. And that was only 3 days, but that was pretty hard. They called that the boards, you know what I mean? But being 16 and being locked up for like 3 days on just boards, and you get a mattress at night, you know what I mean? But the mattress is about that thick and the pillow is about that thick. But that's why they call it the boards. Pretty hardcore, you know what I mean? But what it did make me do was like, I'd already become a Christian many years ago, believe it or not. And so the only book that you were allowed to read was the Bible. It's the only thing you were allowed to do or anything. You're in the boards, that was all you had a Bible to read. And so I found myself in the boards quite a lot. So I did as a young man. And I read the Bible back to front many times, but I'd already read the Bible. So it was just learning more stuff and yes, I don't know. I don't know what I was doing. I was probably just trying to keep myself sane. But with solitary confinement comes a lot of overthinking and out there thinking, and obviously it does create problems mentally and trying socially. It's always been a nightmare trying to socially navigate the world. But you know, um, I'm not on my own like that. There's many, many of us like that, and But anyway, this is quite a long video, guys, and I really do hope you are going to enjoy it. The video is about to start, so I just want to make it clear. Wanted to get all that out of the way. I wanted to give a wee bit of space in between this, because if you can imagine, this is where the video was meant to start, right here. God bless. Guys and dolls, Freedom Dad here, and what a view, what a view, what a day. It's cold. Should have worn my gloves, but hey ho. But yeah, not going to go into any personal stuff. Just going to do a video today. I'm going to do a wee personal video after I tell you about boy. Everything's okay with boys. A wee bit sore, not, but going to that. Got some videos I want to cover. You know, just sort of react to them. A couple of controversial videos, I suppose, as well. That's been floating about the internet. Bring it to you guys so you don't miss out. And I'll give my take on it. So let's get into it.
Told you guys that when I was young and single, before I had my wife and family, we're just out of shot over there, my beautiful children, I was a fool, man. I was a fool before I lived in the light of the Lord. I was a drug addict, a sex addict, and an imbecile. But what I never was a rapist. I've never engaged in non-consensual activity. I pray that you can see that by looking in my eyes. And of course, I'm now going to have the opportunity to defend these charges in court, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. In the meantime, you lot, stay free, and we will be continuing to discuss this matter. Praise the Lord. I've always...
Okay, I know, big one to start with. Yeah, Russell Brand. So, as we know, guys, we know there's a lot of accusations like this to go about, okay? And it's a tricky one, like, so it is, you know what I mean? But it's got to be addressed, you know, and I'm going to give my opinion. Has grown up, you know, as a young man, Russell Brand was in my life, you know, because one of the reasons was most of the girls that I've been with fancied him, you know. Seemed to be that I never really got my head around it, to be honest with you, because he's just a skinny wee dude, you know what I mean? And but the women loved him for some reason, and he was quite famous. He had a lot of money, and he's quite influential. So, you know, with all these things in mind, it takes me back to the Conor McGregor thing, you know. Why do such men need to commit these crimes? Now, you know, there's probably people out there that can justify a rich man committing these crimes. And there probably is evidence of rich men committing these crimes. I get that. Totally get that. But, you know, we've got to look at it logically, right? Without, like, playing devil's advocate here, you know what I mean? Entertainment and educational purposes only. It's just my opinions. It just seems a bit convenient, you know. It seems a wee bit convenient that everybody on the right, you know, and then just to sweeten the deal, what happens? We get this character, you know. So but the thing is, Labour knew about him for quite a long time, and there was no action taken. And you know, so with all the stuff that's going on, the way the political class work, we know Russell Brand has been an advocate for so many things that the government don't like, you know, which I'm not going to mention because YouTube don't like you talking about it. But you know what I'm talking about. What we went through in 2019-20. And, you know, and he spoke out against the government on many, many occasions. So that does, for that alone, you've got to understand, you've got to have a wee bit of awareness here, guys. You know what I mean? You've got to have that in your head as well, that, you know, when you're going forward, you know, there is a possibility that, you know, this could be all concocted to discredit a man. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's down to the court to decide, you know what I mean? It's all alleged, you know what I mean? It's all alleged right now, and it's down to, I suppose, a jury. And, you know, we've seen what happened to Conor McGregor when he got put in front of a jury. So it's all down to the jury, and it's a very difficult thing to, you got to understand. You've got mostly, in most cases, women who quite willingly have went back somewhere with a person, you know, and then claimed to be raped. I don't know. It's a sticky one for me, you know, when there's money involved and stuff, and that's just my opinion. And then there's, of course, he's a Christian, so I'm gonna always have, you know, a bit of skepticism as well, because, you know, I believe he's a Christian, and I believe if he's he's a born again Christian, then he's going to be honest, you know. He's going to say, listen, I made mistakes, you know. Maybe it was a bit of a rough sex that got out of hand, and, you know, maybe that might be the case or something. I don't know. I just can't imagine You know, guys, with my experience in life, these men that do these kind of crimes, right? This is just me, a logical guy that's lived and breathed bad people. The kind of men that do these kind of things don't stop doing it. You know what I mean? They're a certain breed of men, and you don't get very many good-looking men with loads of money that do these things. You know, and a lot of people will be saying, nah, you're freedom dad and all that. Guys, you just don't know what goes on in a bedroom, so you can't see either way. If one person's saying yes and the other person's saying no, how can you take any sides? And the point I'm going to make here to finish this wee bit off is it's okay, right, when we're saying about taking sides, but let's look at the sides. One, you've got a man whose reputation is going to be really, really damaged, quite possibly go to prison. His family, his kids and everything are, you know, it's not even worth thinking about. On the other side, right, so that's if it's guilty, and then you've got the victim, the woman that's went through a terrible ordeal. Yeah, of course, right? Then, on the other side, it's not true, you know? There's nothing, you know, either way, the damage is done for the man, you know what I mean? And it's so easy for us all just to jump on the bandwagon. And because of the Me Too movements and the way everything was, it's so easy. So many men are in prison for crimes they haven't committed. It is so easy. So it is. So how do you think it is for a man who's in the limelight like him? You know? So I just want you to give a wee bit of thought of and entertain the idea that maybe he is innocent. Maybe this has been concocted by the British government. Or maybe somebody's looking for money, you know? Because too many people are jumping on the bandwagon because he was that kind of guy. He had a high sex drive and he enjoyed sex a bit more than most, you know, and he was a good looking guy, you know what I mean? I still don't get it, like, but yeah, look, maybe he is, you know. Just I thought he was gay, you know. I was convinced he was gay, guys. I really, really was. I mean, I thought the flamboyance with the women was just a front, you know what I mean? I really did, like, and then, you know, but so that's my opinion on it, and it's not nice for some people to hear that, because the way I push for children and obviously everything goes along, you know what I'm talking about, guys, and it would be very easy for me to come on here and say to you guys, you know what, we've got to think about the victim. You know, this is a celebrity who thought he could get away with it. You know, and go down that route, you know. And, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not saying that's not the case. All I'm saying is take both sides in, understand it going forward, and understand how difficult this is going to be for him, you know. Oh, dearie, 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 dearie me. Guys, honestly, if you knew what I knew, what's happened to people, oh my God. Oh, and I can't even talk about some stuff, you know what I mean? Really, really can't, you know. But, you know, I've been around a long time and I've seen an awful lot of things. I witnessed an awful lot of things, you know. You know, it's just, I've heard stories and things that I've found out. For instance, there was a country, I'm not too sure about the details, I don't even know if I should go into it, but they started paying compensation to rape victims, so they did, and there was just a mad push of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of women going to the police and saying they were raped, and obviously they've had consensual sex. Obviously, because of the rising number of so many people that were reporting it, they knew something was amiss, you know. And if it was only for that. Now, I'm not saying that women are like that. All I'm saying is when there's a money incentive that has been proved in the past, that women will claim to be. Yes, I hate saying it because it's not nice, because there's so many victims out there. You can understand what I'm saying, guys. I'm just trying to give you my opinion, and maybe my opinion doesn't suit. You know what I mean? Maybe this is a bit far out there for some people. I don't know. All I'm saying is, I've never liked Russell Brand. He's never been a favourite of mine. Never really trusted him, to be honest with you, because he's went from the right to the left. I do believe he's a Christian. Maybe the Christian, I haven't really deep dived it too much into my head because I've got enough going on in my head right now to be thinking about Russell Brand. And I'm no advocate of Russell Brand. In no way have I ever supported him. No way have I ever followed him. No way have I ever liked any of his stuff. And I'm just talking, it would be any man. Please believe me, any man. I would look at it and say, guys, please don't just crucify him the way the media are right now and the way the headlines are. And I know it's hard saying wait for a court of law because I think he's doomed. I just think the way everything's playing out and, it's his word against, look at me. I mean, I got 18 years on a guy, one word, his word against mine, basically, he says I done it, I says I didn't do it, you know what I mean? All right, it wasn't a majority, it wasn't anonymous, it was a majority verdict I got back. So it meant some of the jury believed me, but the point is, it's like, that's what it's down to. Guys, that's what it's down to. It's down to her saying this happened, him saying, no, it never. And it's up to a jury to which one they believe. And, that's a toss of a coin. That's a 50-50. You know what I mean? If the jury pull 9 women, he's done for. We all know that. We've seen that with the Conor McGregor civil case. So, anyway, that's enough. I've went on a wee bit about that one because I think it's important that we talk about these things and get these things out there. And even women can try and talk. I would like to think that you guys in my platform, these women, would interact with this kind of conversation and address the issues of women. And do you know women that have made false accusations? How damaging is it to a guy? Is there guys out there that's had false accusations? How damaging was it to you? And what, how deep it is and how hard it is as well to get a conviction from somebody who really has suffered one of these attacks. And what are the answers? These are the kind of things I'd like to cover on our live tonight, guys, if that's okay. So rather than throw comments down, this will be one of the topics tonight. We'll talk about Russell Brand. And if we can get some input from women as well, it's important, you know what I mean, that we even have these wee conversations, you know what I mean, just for out of interest, because it is mind-boggling. It really, it's one of them ones, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You know what I mean? There's like, to be a jury or a judge on a case, I don't know, I couldn't do it. Like, I could not do it. I would come back, and then it's, what if it's all down to, well, it's what they look like. So, what if you've got somebody that's really good at acting as well? And, on the guy who's, no way would he ever commit anything like that, and he's just really angry right now, and he's standing in the box saying, no, of course I never, it was consensual, this is mental, this is nuts, angry, and then she comes in and gives it all, blah, 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 and the jury are like, oh, and boom, guilty. That's how it works, guys, and people don't realise that. Maybe the Amber Hingy one and the Johnny Depp trial maybe showed you how acting in the dark can, I'm not saying that. I'm not going to be thingy myself, man. But yeah, at the end of the day, guys, it's a very deep one, innit? 12 minutes. Right, so the next one is a controversial one, right? I'm going to play it and then I'll talk to you about it.
He's asking for the police. He's asking for the police, but they want to leave him. No one wants to do this. Call the police. Don't touch her. Excuse
I know that might be a wee bit hard to watch for some of you guys. Sorry for the sun. I changed my hand. But, I'm not really surprised, and I'm going to try and explain to you what I think, Now, first of all, you got to remember, that what you heard at the end of that video, I've cut that off because it went on for a wee while, an hour, like 10 seconds or something. And the chants that you heard at the end. And that's been added in. I don't think that's the people in that area that were doing that. Right now, I'm not justifying anything here. Just hear me out. So now, if that's been doctored like that bit, then you got to think why. So straight away you can think, right, it's either by the right wing to make it look bad, to produce hatred, right, or it's by the left wing to make it look bad, so the right wing, make a big thing about it. You know what I mean? So that's the way I see this right now. And so what tells me it's been doctored, and then the next, because it just doesn't sound right, it sounds like that chant, the snack van chant, is added in. So then you've got to think to yourself, right, I don't think it's the right, you know what I mean? I don't think it's the right, but it could be the left. So if it's the left, why would they leave out, say, the beginning of it? Say the beginning of it, where you don't, because the guy had already had a few slaps. You can see that in his face. If you look back, you see his face is really red, so he's already had a few slaps. So you got to wonder what's going on. And if he's been really bad, the left would have shown it. You understand? The left would have that out there. This is how I know it's not the right that's done this, because the right wouldn't have touched this. You understand? So this came from the left, and everybody thinks it's the right. So the left have put this out, and they've left the start it. Now, what I think's happened is either one, this guy's been drunk, or two, he's just got into a situation, and he's reacted. You know what I mean? And I'll explain that in more detail in a wee second. But the fact is, we don't know. That guy could have went in there and pushed a Muslim woman over, been really disrespectful. What are you doing in my area? You just don't know what started it. And you're saying, well, that's not no justification. Let me get to that. So what we have in reality, logically, factual, is it's a tribal thing. And you've got to understand that, in Northern Ireland, it's a tribal thing. We got Protestants and Catholics, different areas and all that, segregation. And, just like football matches, that's tribal as well. You got Liverpool supporters and Man United supporters and, Celtic and Rangers. So let's look at it like this. You got all the Rangers men all celebrating outside one of the Rangers bars in Glasgow, and a Celtic man walks through the middle of them. Now, what do you think was going to happen? There's two things that could happen. One, the Rangers men will give him a load of abuse and a stick, right? But they'll make way for him, and they'll make sure he's okay, because he's on his own, remember, Scottish men don't behave like that, believe it or not. Or two, the Celtic man's going to go in there and start giving them dogs abuse, and then he's going to get a slap, and then he's going to get up and maybe have an hour going, because they're not going to give him a beating, they're just going to give him a slap and tell him to bolt. So if you've seen a video like that, would you be shocked? Would you be shocked, even if it's a Celtic supporter, if you've seen a Celtic supporter walking in the Rangers man and giving it a lot of loudy and I'm getting a few slaps? Nobody would be surprised. So let's look at everything logically and not get caught up in everything, because I do believe this has been doctored by the left. I do believe that this young man has found himself in a situation. He's maybe been drunk and he's been a wee bit disrespectful. Now, I don't care what colour you are, what religion you are, what football team you support. That's life. That's what happens. Doesn't matter. It's tribal. You come into my gang from another gang and you start acting in a way, you're going to get a slap. That's the way the world works. We all know that. But in a nutshell, should a man like that have a problem anywhere in the streets of England? Now, that's an even deeper question, so it is. I'm going to come down here and you'll be out of the sun, guys. That's an even deeper question. You see where you can go with these sort of things when you really look at them logically, because, the left have they've done a really good job, because this video is going around everywhere. Every racist and far right is moving this video about with the headline, shocking, look what's happening to an Englishman in an English town. And, and it is shocking. Of course it's shocking. It would be shocking if you seen anybody getting slapped about like that. But it's tribal. That's not their fault. It's the government's fault that the situation's like that, At the end of the day, we know where not to go, you know what I mean? We've had places like that. Well, I've always had places like that. I'm used to having no-go areas, And I'm not saying it's a no-go area, guys, right? I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is this, I believe, is an entrapment. This is one of them videos I keep telling people that will be careful about, you know, because what will happen once it gets travelled about the place for so long, the government will then go, da-da, look what he really done. Just like the Manchester bomb, just like the two Manchester guys in the airport. You know, that's the kind of thing that the government learn from things like that, you know. They learn how they can use misinformation. They learn if they put something out and everybody jumps on it, then the government go, look, see how damaging misinformation is. So this is what I keep on saying. I'm highlighting little things like this because it's very, very important to us to always give things a wee bit of time and never assume, even if you see some of your own eyes, you've got to question everything. I am seeing things now that I am absolutely shocked that is AI. Absolutely shocked that it's AI. Cannot get my head around it that that's AI. But you know it's AI because you just know that that's an impossible human body figure, you know. And yeah, or that's an impossible thing a dog can do, you know. But people actually go, oh, look at that wee doggy getting a massage. Oh, you know, and people believe it. People believe it because it's that good. And they're doing it subtly now. They're doing it like the dog, you know, getting the massage and getting the face pack on. You know, there is dogs you could train up like that, but come on, man, you know what I mean? But yeah, the next one's a biggie, guys. This is a big video just to make up on that. Like, it's a Tuesday. That's what I'm thinking when I got up this morning. And it's still quite early, as you can see. I was like, it's Tuesday. Everybody's feeling it, you know what I mean? It's like a long ways till the weekend. I mean, I'm going to do something half decent for you. And so this next video is another controversial video. And, you know, I just think it needs to be put out there. It needs to be watched. It needs to be talked about. It's the kind of thing that there's not enough of it. And it's a difficult thing to put out and it's a difficult thing to watch. But somebody's got to do it. So here you go, guys.
We understand it was Pakistani men who engaged in the dreadful, dreadful grooming and then rape and massive violence against hundreds of poor white girls in England, and it was covered up. And it does appear that a lot of people wanted to cover it up lest they be seen as Islamophobic, lest they be seen as racist. How would those men justify their appalling behaviour?
I've been thinking and writing about this, speaking about it for a long time. The victims are in the tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. There's a number of factors that come together, and it's interesting to look at the testimonies of survivors. One is that it's a religious element, so it's the religiously motivated hate crime. That is, the girls who were being raped were told they were filthy infidels and they were inferior. And they were suffering because of they're dehumanized in the eyes of the men. Another issue is that under Islamic law, conquered non-Muslims live in a state of vulnerability. They're meant to be subjected and dominated by Islam, but if they break out of that domination, they're vulnerable to the jihad. And one of the conditions of jihad is that the rape of captive women is permitted. They become slaves of their captors. This is well known, and you know, it's part of Islamic law. And so, in societies like Pakistan or Egypt, Christians live in a state of vulnerability, and one of the things that hangs over their head is the threat of rape, if they're considered to have broken the law. And so, there's this huge problem in Egypt and in Pakistan of Christian girls being abducted and forcibly married off. The state will not defend them. And so, you know, you've got this worldview that if you're not a Muslim, you're inferior, you're dirty, this is among a particular group of Muslims. Not all Muslims would think like that, but some do. And so this legitimizes this. And moreover, you've come from a culture where there's a tradition of taking, sometimes a history of taking non-Muslim girls and using them. And so these factors, these religious factors, produce an outcome that Islam itself forbids. I don't think Islam gives permission for men in the UK to do this to girls at all. It's horrendous. But the culture of Islam does set up these parameters. One of the things I've found most distressing in thinking about these events in the UK is that it is religiously motivated. But so often when people write about it, we don't even have the language to talk about that. So people speak about race crimes or ethnicity. In fact, some of those rape gangs were not Pakistani. They were Arab Muslims, but not necessarily Pakistanis. It's not just an ethnic issue. It's a religious issue. But we don't have a term for the equivalent of racism for religion. What do you call religionism? There's not even a word for it. This is one of the kind of gaps that we have in our language, in our worldview, to talk about a religiously motivated hate crime. So this is, the religious illiteracy of the elites in the UK go together with this determination to impose multiculturalism, combined with Islam's sense of dominance and superiority. It's a very toxic mix, which created a massive tragedy for the UK, which will take a long, long time to recover from.
So yeah, powerful stuff. So, there's no need to play devil's advocate or nothing here, you know what I mean? Just gotta be logical and say how it is, One of the points that I've been trying to make for a wee while is how religiously motivated, it's like, they never picked on their own, they picked it, it was our children, it was children like any children, it wasn't like them, and that's this is the extremism. This is why we know that they're not all bad. This is why I keep on saying to you, there's really good guys out there, good Muslim guys and good Pakistani people, and really amazing folk just like us. And this is a small minority, very small extremism. And what we find is, we find extremism point blank. There you go, in your face, boom. So when we're talking about extremism, we're talking about people who follow the Quran to the letter. There's no two ways about it. These men were following the Quran to the letter. I can't say too much, but what I can tell you is that they committed crimes on these children that were only ever seen in biblical times. There you go, there's one for you. So there was loads of quotes from the Quran, loads of messages that I believe that they believe that Muhammad had said, and how to go forward towards people that weren't Muslim and what they call what's the name, infidels, you know what I mean? And it is difficult because it is a minority, like I say, but these are extremists. These are the ones to be honest with you, they're trying to make it simple for you. The men that commit most of the terrorists around the world follow the Quran the exact same way that these guys do. That's fact. That's not misinformation, that's fact. The guys that committed the crimes on our children, the extremists that were pushing the religious side about them being non-Muslim, and that's why they treated them and they could take them as sex slaves, that was straight from the Quran, and that was teachings that not every Muslim follows. You understand? Just like the Bible, where we stone gays and an eye for an eye. There's things that were in the Bible we obviously do not follow. You know what I mean? That's nuts. You know what I mean? And that's the way a lot of Muslims are. Of course, we don't follow everything in the Quran. You're mad. You know what I mean? It's a book that was hundreds of years ago. Why would we follow it in this day and age? So please believe me, there's so many really good people out there. But like I say again, these are extremists. And like I'm going to say again, these are the same people that commit the atrocities around the world. So, would you like to get rid of anybody in this country that's an extremist? Would you like to get anybody in this country that's following the Quran like that and wants to exterminate anybody that's not them, and believes that it's okay to treat our women and our children any way they like because it tells them to, and they follow that? And because if they're going to do that, what else are they going to do? So obviously they're going to do every single thing. They're going to be what an extremist. There's no a wee bit of an extremist. This is what you got to be understand. There's not. Oh, he's just a wee bit of an extremist. Oh, he was only an extremist in the weekends. You know what I mean? Oh, he's only an extremist when it comes to that children. No. These are extremists. These guys. I don't know. I can't tell you exactly what happened. Oh, 2 seconds, guys. You okay, buddy? You got a dog? You got a dog? You got a dog? Well, you know. Oh no. I'll let you by, buddy. Just doing a wee video. Yeah, these guys are out and out extremists, 110% full-time extremists, and it's a religious thing to them, you know. And we probably had it back in the day, you know what I mean? We probably had some right extremists, you know what I mean? We probably did. We were burning witches at the stake at one time, so I'm sure that was something to do with the church. And that's extremism as well. So we understand it, we know what it is, and we've got loads of evidence of it. So my question is, why are these extremists still walking about the street? Why have we got men that we know are extremists? We know that they follow a certain book to the letter, and that book, if followed to the letter, is very detrimental to the well-being of my little girl. No doubt about it, 110% going forward in 20, 30 years' time, if the government keep going the way they're going and pushing MPs into Parliament that have more interest in other countries than they actually do in this country, because they're not they're not invested in this country. Their grandparents and their grannies or nothing don't come from this country. If they keep going like that, then eventually we will be in a situation where maybe more and more men like that will be quite freely run about our country. Because let's be honest, if we can't get rid of these extremists that want to do us so much harm today, how are you going to get rid of them in 20 years' time? I'm Freedom Dad. Hope you like my video. More to come.